This is my 1976 Rover P6B or Rover 3500. It's a Series 2 car and it's a New Zealand assembled complete knockdown car that was shipped over here to Australia. At the moment I've got the engine out, I've got the heater box out, and I've also got the transmission out. So this car is being converted from a automatic to a 5-speed manual, and while I had the engine and transmission out, I thought it was a good time to just investigate a couple of things that weren't quite right when I looked at them closely. So I found that the heater matrix was rusted out and leaking, and I found a couple other things as well that I'll go into. So some of the other things I found are that there's rubber bushings around here that are missing, and some of the handiwork from the factory was pretty rough. Some of the holes in the firewall and the body look like they've almost been hammered in with a chisel, so I'm going to tidy that up. A couple of the brake line clips are broken as well, and down in here, all of this matting that's along here, it's all starting to come apart with age, so I'm going to replace that as well. Tidy up some of the wiring that's started to get very brittle with the heat under the bonnet, and where I can, I've bought new gaskets and seals for the heater box, and I've also rebuilt the heater box, or partially rebuilt the heater box, which I'll show as well, just with new foam and a new heater core. So here's where I'm at with the heater box at the moment. One of the control rods, just poke it up through here. It has a spline on the end of it. Very faintly see it in there, and that spline has slightly twisted. Some people have actually put a nut on top of here, so they've put a thread on it and then a nut to try and keep it in place. I'll see if I can do that, if I can take this arm off here. Otherwise, I'm trying not to take it too far apart, because to take all of this out, then you have to start taking this gasket out, and there's no replacement for this gasket or seal. Also in here, I've put new foam on the flap doors for the fresh air. Where I could reach, I've used POR 15, actually the Australian equivalent, which is it's a KBS treatment. It's a 3-part pack that you buy, and then so you basically clean, put rust preventative surface coating on it, and then put the black coating or paint on it, and then you can paint over the top. So once I've got all of this reassembled, I'll put it all back together, paint all the outside. It's all painted on the inside, and with the new heater core that I got from Britain as well, that'll be in there as well. So the old heater core, all of this in here had all basically corroded and rusted away, and I could never understand why I was losing coolant every time I drove the car, and it was from here. So all down the bottom of this heater box was starting to rust away, and it just had coolant pooling in the bottom of it. These are the flap doors for the heater box, and you can see I've put new foam on here as well. I've treated all this with the KBS pack, and what I'll do as well is I've masked up all the rods and everything, so I'll paint everything, give everything a bit of a buff and clean it all up. Won't over restore it, but try and make it look better than what it was and match the patina on the car. And I've also masked off the original Smith's sticker here. I've tried to find a replacement for this sticker and another decal that was on here as well. I've saved that. There are replacements available or reproductions available, but they're not quite matching to this, which makes me think that maybe this heater box, because it's a New Zealand built car, maybe it's slightly different to British built cars. I'm not quite sure, but I couldn't find a replacement anyway. So not that it matters a great deal, but I thought it'd be nice to try and have exactly the same like for like replacement. This is one of the outer lids that goes back on, so that's also going to get cleaned up and painted. This is one of the old seals that goes on the top of the heater box where the fresh air duct sits. Got the center console here, got a new boot and rubber. That's the old heater core there that a friend of mine tried to rebuild but couldn't do it. And this one here is a spare heater core that I got from a good friend of mine, and I'm using this as my reference point to see where all the linkage will go back together. So these go to control rods or levers inside the passenger compartment, and by moving these you control where the airflow goes from your heating or inside outside air circulation. And when you move this one here, this is the main one that's twisted on mine, so you can see trying to get this out, I'd have to almost break this seal to get it out to swap it over to my one. This is the main one that lets the fresh air come in through the car, so this is in front of the windscreen. And I also have replacements for these parts here. So these are, I'd say they're like a hard rubber U, sorry, not a U, an elbow that goes in here, and then there's a drain that runs down the side of the heater box just to let water and whatever schmutz from the road fall down and then out of the engine bay, but over time they just fall apart. So I've got some 3D printed ones of those as well. So I'll put those in, some new rubber hoses, put all of mine back together, paint it all on the outside, and then put this in the car after I put the new engine and gearbox in. So there we go, a slight intro and update to my 1976 Series 2 Rover P6B.